At 45 years old, I'd spent 20 years building a life with a woman I thought I knew. We had a beautiful home, successful careers, and what I believed was a solid marriage. Then, one Tuesday evening, she walked into the kitchen where I was making dinner and said 5 words that changed everything. "I want a divorce, David." But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part came 3 days later when she handed me papers and said, with a smile that didn't reach her eyes, "I'm keeping the house, and before you get any ideas about fighting me, let me save you some trouble. You can't afford a lawyer good enough to beat mine." What my wife didn't know was that her lawyer was about to face someone who'd never lost a case in 15 years. And that person had been sitting at our Thanksgiving table for the past decade. Calling my wife, Aunt Rachel. Before I continue, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, and subscribe if you believe that underestimating people is the fastest way to lose everything. My name is David Morrison, and for 20 years, I thought I had everything figured out. I'm a high school history teacher in Portland, Oregon. I make a decent salary. Nothing spectacular, but enough. I coach the debate team. I'm advisor for the student council, and I genuinely love my job. The kids call me Mr. M, and occasionally actually pay attention during lectures about the Civil War. My wife Rachel was a pharmaceutical sales representative. She made 3 times what I made, drove a company BMW, and traveled constantly for work. Designer suits, expensive dinners with clients, hotel points she'd rack up like some people collect stamps. We lived in a beautiful craftsman-style house in the suburbs. 4 bedrooms, renovated kitchen, a yard with mature trees. We'd bought it together 15 years ago for $380,000. Now it was worth close to $900,000. That detail would become very important. From the outside, we looked perfect. The successful career woman and her supportive educator husband. We hosted dinner parties. We went to charity galas for her company. We took tasteful vacation photos that Rachel would post on social media with captions like, "Blessed life with my best friend." But perfect is just a performance. And performances eventually end. The cracks started small. Rachel working later and later. Business trips that seemed to extend by a day or two without explanation. Her phone perpetually face down on every surface. The way she'd tense up when it buzzed during dinner. I'm not stupid. I teach teenagers. I know what secrecy looks like. But I also believed in trust, in giving people the benefit of the doubt, in not being that suspicious, paranoid husband. So I ignored it, pushed it down, told myself I was being irrational. Until that Tuesday, I was in the kitchen making my specialty. Nothing fancy, just a decent stir-fry with vegetables from our garden. Rachel came home at 6:30, which was early for her. She didn't change out of her work clothes. She didn't kiss me, hello. She just stood in the doorway with her arms crossed. "We need to talk," she said. Those 4 words. The relationship death knell. I turned off the burner. Okay. She walked to the dining room table and sat down, formal, distant, like she was about to deliver a presentation. "David, I want a divorce." The words landed like a punch. I actually felt my breath catch. "What? Rachel, what are you talking about?" "I've been unhappy for a long time," she said, her voice flat, rehearsed. "We've grown apart. We want different things. This marriage isn't working for me anymore." "We've grown apart?" "Rachel, you've barely been home for 6 months. We haven't had a real conversation in—" "Exactly," she interrupted. "That's exactly my point. This isn't working." I sat down across from her, my mind racing. "Is there someone else?" She had the audacity to look offended. "This isn't about another person, David. This is about me needing more from my life than being married to a high school teacher who's content with mediocrity." The insult was calculated, precise, designed to wound. Mediocrity, I repeated. You've been teaching at the same school for 15 years. You make $68,000 a year. You coach debate for free. You're comfortable, and I need someone who wants more. Someone ambitious. I am ambitious. About education. About making a difference. Please, she scoffed. Save the inspirational teacher speech for your students. I looked at my wife of 20 years and realized I was looking at a stranger. Fine, I said, my voice colder than I intended. If you want a divorce, we'll get a divorce. We'll split everything fairly, and about that, Rachel said, pulling out a folder from her briefcase. I've already consulted with an attorney, given that I've been the primary breadwinner for our entire marriage, and considering my significant contributions to our assets, I'll be keeping the house. She slid a document across the table. This is a proposed settlement. I keep the house, my retirement accounts, and my vehicle. You can have your car and half of the shared checking account, which is about $8,000. I stared at the document. Rachel, this house is worth $900,000. We bought it together. We're both on the deed. But I've paid the mortgage for the last 10 years. I paid for the renovation. I've maintained this house while you were busy grading papers. I've contributed $68,000 a year, she said with a thin smile. Meanwhile, I make $210,000 plus bonuses. Do the math, David. This house is mine in every way that matters. I felt my face flush. You can't just take the house. Oregon is a no-fault state. Marital assets are split. Are you going to fight me? She asked, leaning forward. Because I've hired Patricia Thornton. She's the best divorce attorney in Portland. She costs $650 an hour. And David, let me be very clear. You can't afford a lawyer good enough to beat her. The condescension in her voice was breathtaking. You're not even going to try to work this out? I asked. There's nothing to work out. Sign the papers, David. Make this easy on yourself. She stood up, smoothed her skirt, and walked toward the stairs. I'm sleeping in the guest room. I expect you to move out by the end of the month. I sat at the dining room table for a long time after she went upstairs. The stir-fry had gone cold on the stove. My marriage was over, and apparently, so was my claim to the home we'd built together. But here's what Rachel didn't know. Every Thanksgiving for the past 10 years, we'd hosted my side of the family, including my younger sister, Katherine, the little girl I'd helped raise after our parents died, the brilliant kid I'd worked 3 jobs to put through college and law school, Katherine Morrison, who was now one of the most successful family law attorneys in the Pacific Northwest. And she was about to make Patricia Thornton's life very, very difficult. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in what used to be our bed, now apparently just my bed, staring at the ceiling and processing 20 years of my life, collapsing in a single conversation. The next morning, Rachel was gone before I woke up, probably stayed at a hotel, or with whoever she was seeing. I was past caring. I went to work on autopilot, taught my classes without really being present. During my planning period, I sat in my empty classroom and finally let myself feel it. The anger, the betrayal, the humiliation of being told I was too poor to fight for what was mine. My phone buzzed. A text from Katherine. Lunch today? My treat. Katherine and I had a standing monthly lunch, but we'd had to cancel the last 2 because of her trial schedule. I'd forgotten she was back in town. Can't. Bad day, I typed back. 3 dots appeared. Then, what happened? I stared at my phone. Then I called her. She answered immediately. David, what's wrong? Rachel wants a divorce. Silence. Then, I'm coming to your school. What period are you free? Kath, you don't have to. What period, David? 6th, 1:30. I'll be there. At 1:25, Katherine Morrison walked into Riverside High School like she owned the place. Designer suit, briefcase, the kind of presence that makes administrators nervous. She found my classroom and closed the door behind her. Talk, she said, I told her everything. The conversation, the proposed settlement, Rachel's smug dismissal of my ability to fight her. Catherine's expression didn't change, but her jaw tightened. When I finished, she opened her briefcase and pulled out a legal pad. Tell me about the house. Purchase date, price, who's on the deed. I walked her through it. Bought in 2008 for $380,000. Both our names on the deed. Joint tenants with right of survivorship. Mortgage started at $300,000. We've paid it down to about $150,000. Who's been paying it? Rachel pays it from her account, but I contribute to household expenses. Groceries, utilities, maintenance. Documented? I mean, I have bank statements showing. Good. I'll need those. She was writing rapidly. Renovations. She mentioned renovations. Kitchen and master bath, 5 years ago. Cost about $80,000. Who paid? It was complicated. We used joint savings. But Rachel put in more because I was helping Kevin through college. Catherine's pen stopped. Kevin? My nephew. Your cousin. He was living with us, going to community college. I was covering his tuition and expenses. For how long? 3 years. Documented? I have receipts, bank transfers. Perfect. She was writing again. Any prenup? No. Separate property brought into the marriage? No. We both had nothing when we met. Children? No. Katherine leaned back. David, Oregon is an equitable distribution state. That doesn't mean equal. It means fair. The court considers length of marriage, each party's contribution, earning capacity, and a bunch of other factors. But she makes 3 times what I make. Irrelevant to property division. The house was purchased during the marriage with marital funds. It's marital property. Period. She looked at me. Did she mention who she hired? Patricia Thornton. Katherine laughed. It wasn't a nice laugh. I know Patricia. We've faced each other 4 times. She's 1-0. She's aggressive, expensive, and she bullies people who can't afford to fight back. She closed her legal pad, but her clients always assume that because they're paying $650 an hour, they're getting the best. They're not. They're getting the most expensive. Kath, I can't afford. Stop. She held up her hand. You're my brother. You raised me. You paid for my education. You sat in that courthouse when I was admitted to the bar, and you cried like a baby. I did not cry. You absolutely did. And now I'm going to return the favor. She stood up. I'm representing you. Pro bono. Katherine, you charge $500 an hour, and I'm worth every penny, she said with a grin. But for you, family discount, which is 0. I can't let you. David. She put her hand on my shoulder. Rachel just made a catastrophic mistake. She assumed you were weak because you're kind. She assumed you'd roll over because you're not confrontational. She assumed wrong. She walked to the door, then turned back. Don't sign anything. Don't move out. Don't agree to anything. And absolutely do not tell Rachel you've hired an attorney. Let her think you're scrambling, helpless, too poor to fight. She smiled. Let her be comfortable right up until the moment I tear her settlement proposal into confetti. After she left, I sat at my desk, feeling something I hadn't felt since Tuesday. Hope. Katherine didn't just take my case. She declared war. Over the next 2 weeks, while Rachel continued living in the guest room and treating me like an unfortunate roommate she was stuck with, Katherine was building an artillery of evidence. She subpoenaed our financial records, all of them, 20 years of bank statements, tax returns, credit card bills, mortgage payments, investment accounts. She hired a forensic accountant named David Chen, who specialized in tracing marital assets. And she discovered some very interesting things. Week 1, Katherine called me at school during my planning period. David, did you know Rachel has a separate bank account? What? No. Opened 4 years ago. She's been depositing portions of her bonuses into it. Currently has about $180,000. That's marital property, right? Absolutely. She'll have to disclose it in discovery. If she doesn't, she's committing fraud. Katherine paused. Did you know she refinanced the house 2 years ago? She what? Took out a cash-out refinance. Increased the mortgage from $200,000 to $350,000. Pulled out $150,000. Where did that money go? That's what I'm finding out. But David, she did this without telling you. You're on the deed, but you didn't sign the refinance papers. How is that possible? It's not. Which means either the bank screwed up or someone forged your signature. I'm betting on forgery. My blood ran cold. Week 2, Katherine showed up at my classroom after school with her forensic accountant. Mr. Chen was a mild-mannered man in his 50s who spoke with the quiet confidence of someone who dealt in indisputable facts. Mr. Morrison, he said, opening his laptop, your wife has been very creative with marital assets. He showed me spreadsheets, charts, timelines. The $150,000 from the refinance went into her separate account. She then used it to purchase stock options in her company. Those options are now worth approximately $400,000. That's marital property, Katherine said, purchased with marital funds. During the marriage, she owes you half. But wait, there's more, Mr. Chen said, pulling up another document. Your wife has been claiming maximum deductions on her taxes for home office expenses for the past 8 years. So, she's been writing off a percentage of the mortgage, utilities, and maintenance as business expenses, reducing her taxable income significantly. Which means, Katherine said, she's been benefiting from the house financially while planning to claim she paid for everything. She can't have it both ways. Week 3, the bomb dropped. Katherine called me at 11 p.m. David, are you sitting down? I am now. Rachel's not just having an affair. She's been having an affair with her regional manager, Marcus Webb, for 3 years. They travel together for work. The company knows. They've been accommodating it. How did you? I subpoenaed her work emails and travel records. It's all there. Hotels with 2 key cards, expense reports for romantic dinners. And David, here's the kicker. She's been telling him she's going to leave you, and they're going to get married. I felt sick. There's more, Katherine continued. She's been telling him that the house is solely in her name, that you're just a teacher she took pity on, who's been living rent-free. She said, what? She's been painting you as a charity case, a dependent, someone who contributed nothing. The anger that flooded through me was white hot. Can we use this? I asked. Oregon is a no-fault state, so the affair itself doesn't matter legally. But her lies, her hidden assets, her forged refinance, her painting a false picture of the marriage to her boyfriend, Katherine's voice was ice. Oh, we're using all of it. Rachel's deposition was scheduled for a gray Tuesday morning in Patricia Thornton's office. I wasn't allowed to be there, but Katherine recorded it and played me the highlights that night. The conference room was all glass and chrome, the kind of space designed to intimidate. Rachel sat on one side with Patricia Thornton, a woman in her 60s with steel gray hair and a reputation for crushing opponents. Katherine sat across from them, legal pad open, smile pleasant. Good morning, Rachel, Katherine began. Thank you for being here. Rachel nodded, cool and confident. Let's start simple. How long have you been married to my brother? 20 years. And during that time, did you both work? Yes. Who earned more? I did. Significantly more? Yes. And you believe that entitles you to keep the house? Patricia Thornton cut in. Counsel, that's argumentative. I'll rephrase. Rachel, in your proposed settlement, you're asking for the house, correct? Yes. Why? Rachel straightened. Because I paid for it. I've covered the mortgage, the maintenance, the renovations. David's salary barely covered groceries. Katherine nodded, writing, when you bought the house in 2008, whose names were on the deed? Both of ours. And who paid the down payment? We both did, from joint savings. So it started as a joint asset? Yes, but I've been the one. We'll get to that. Katherine pulled out a document. This is the closing statement from 2008. The down payment was $80,000. Can you tell me where that money came from? Our savings account. And who contributed to that savings account? Rachel hesitated. Both of us. Actually, Katherine said, pulling out bank statements. These statements show that David contributed 60% of that down payment from his savings. You contributed 40%. Would you like to revise your statement about who paid for the house? Patricia leaned over to whisper to Rachel. Let's move on, Katherine said. You mentioned renovations, the kitchen and master bath, correct? Yes. How much did those cost? About $80,000. And you paid for those? Yes. Katherine pulled out more documents. These are the receipts and payment records. They show that $80,000 came from a joint home equity line of credit, not from your personal funds. Would you like to revise your statement? Rachel's face was starting to flush. And while we're on the subject of the house, Katherine continued, can you tell me about the refinance you did 2 years ago? The room temperature seemed to drop. We needed to refinance. Did David know about this refinance? We discussed it. Katherine pulled out the refinance documents. This is your signature, and this, she pointed, is supposed to be David's signature. Except, David says he never signed these documents. Never even saw them. She placed a handwriting analysis report on the table. This is from a certified forensic document examiner. They conclude that David's signature on these refinance documents is a forgery. Katherine looked up. Did you forge your husband's signature, Rachel? I have power of attorney for household. You do not. We've checked. There's no power of attorney on file anywhere. Katherine leaned forward. You forged his signature, refinanced the house without his knowledge, pulled out $150,000 in cash, and deposited it into a secret bank account. Is that correct? Patricia Thornton was frantically writing notes. I'm invoking my Fifth Amendment right, Rachel said, her voice shaking. Interesting, Katherine said. Let's move on. Can you tell me about the bank account at Wells Fargo, ending in 7734? That's my personal account. Opened during the marriage? Yes. Funded with marital income? Some of it. All of it, Katherine corrected. Every deposit came from your salary, which is marital income, currently holds $180,000. You failed to disclose this account in your financial statement to the court. Why? Silence. And the stock options you purchased with the money from the illegal refinance, worth $400,000, also not disclosed. Why? Rachel was staring at the table. Let's talk about your boyfriend, Katherine said cheerfully. Patricia Thornton's head snapped up. Counsel, Marcus Webb, regional manager at PharmaCorp. You've been having an affair with him for 3 years. Correct. That's not relevant to... You've been telling him that the house is solely in your name, that David contributed nothing to the marriage, that he's essentially been your dependent. Is that true? I never... Katherine pulled out printed emails. These are from your company email account. Here's one from 6 months ago. Can't wait to start our life together in my house. David will be gone soon, and we can finally be together in the home I built. She pulled out another. Here's one from last year. Taking care of David is exhausting. He contributes nothing, but I feel obligated because he has nowhere else to go. Rachel was crying now. So, to summarize, Katherine said, you forged your husband's signature, refinanced the house illegally, hid assets, committed perjury in your financial disclosure, and have been conducting a long-term affair while planning to steal the marital home. Have I missed anything? The deposition ended shortly after. Rachel left in tears, Patricia Thornton looking like she'd swallowed glass. That night, Katherine came to my house with takeout. She's cooked, Katherine said, unpacking Chinese food. Patricia knows it. They'll offer a settlement within a week. What should I expect? 50-50 split of everything, maybe more given her misconduct. Plus, her paying your legal fees, as sanction for the forged documents. And the house? Katherine smiled. The house, dear brother, is going to be sold, and you're getting your half, plus your half of her hidden accounts, plus your half of those stock options. She pulled out a calculator. I estimate you're walking away with about $650,000. I stared at her. That's more than she was going to give you? Yes. Turns out crime doesn't pay, especially when you're dumb enough to commit it against someone whose sister is a better lawyer than the one you hired. The settlement offer came 5 days later. Katherine forwarded it to me with a single word: pathetic. Rachel was offering 50-50 split of the house proceeds, return of the $150,000 from the refinance access to the hidden accounts. She'd keep the stock options, no legal fees. Counteroffer? I asked Katherine. She sent me her response: 60-40 split of house proceeds, in my favor due to her misconduct. Full disclosure and 50-50 split of all hidden assets, including stock options. She pays my legal fees, $75,000 if billed at Katherine's normal rate. Public apology for forgery and fraud. Immediate move out. The apology is just for fun, Katherine admitted. But everything else is reasonable, given what she did. 2 days later, Patricia Thornton called Katherine. Your terms are acceptable, except the 60-40 split and the apology. Those are non-negotiable, Katherine said. Your client forged documents and committed fraud. The 60-40 split is generous. We could go to court and I'd ask for 70-30 plus sanctions. Silence. I need to consult with my client. 3 hours later, we accept all terms. The house sold in 2 weeks for $895,000. After closing costs and paying off the mortgage, there was $720,000 to split. 60% of $720,000, $432,000 for me, plus half of the hidden accounts, $90,000, plus half of the stock options, $200,000, plus return of the refinance money, $150,000. Total, $872,000. Rachel's share, $288,000 from the house, plus her half of the other assets. She also had to write me a check for $75,000 for Katherine's legal fees. The day we finalized everything, Rachel showed up at what had been our house for the last time. I was packing my study. She stood in the doorway, smaller somehow than I remembered. I didn't think you'd fight, she said quietly. I know. I didn't think you had it in you. I didn't fight, I corrected. Katherine did. I forgot about Katherine. That was your first mistake. I taped a box shut. Underestimating people because they're kind, because they teach instead of sell, because they don't brag about money. She looked around the empty house. I'm sorry, for what it's worth. Are you sorry you did it, or sorry you got caught? She didn't answer. You told Marcus I contributed nothing, I said, that I was your charity case. I was angry. You forged my signature. You stole from our marriage. You lied to a court. I looked at her. I spent 20 years building a life with someone who saw me as an obstacle to a better future. That's not. It is, though. And the saddest part, if you'd just been honest, if you'd said you wanted out and wanted to split things fairly, I would have agreed. We could have done this amicably, but you got greedy. You assumed I was too weak or too poor to stand up for myself. I picked up the box. You were wrong. 6 months later, I'm standing in front of a different house, smaller than the old one, a 1920s bungalow that needs work but has character. 2 bedrooms, original hardwood floors, a front porch perfect for morning coffee. I paid cash, $385,000. No mortgage, no debt. The remaining $487,000 is invested, earning money while I figure out what's next. Katherine is here helping me move in. So is Kevin, my nephew, now graduated and working as a software developer. Uncle David, Kevin says, carrying in boxes. This place is great. It needs work. That's what makes it great. It's got potential. Katherine is in the kitchen, already criticizing my cabinet choices. You need to renovate this kitchen immediately. With what money? I joke. With the $500,000 you have sitting in investment accounts, you dummy. I'm saving that. For what? I don't know. The future. She shakes her head. David, you spent 20 years putting everyone else first. You put me through school. You helped Kevin. You let Rachel convince you that your contributions didn't matter because they weren't financial. She opens a cabinet. Maybe use some of that money on yourself for once. Kevin pokes his head in. She's right. You should travel or buy that ridiculous sports car you've always wanted. I don't want a sports car. Okay, but you want something. What do you want? I look around the small kitchen, at Katherine, who defended me like a warrior, at Kevin, who I helped raise, at this house that's mine and no one else's. This, I say. I want this. Later, after they leave, I sit on my front porch as the sun sets. My phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. Heard about the house. Congrats. R. I delete it without responding. Another text. This one from Katherine. Sunday dinner at my place. You're cooking. Bring wine. I smile and respond. Deal. A third text from Marcus, my basketball buddy from the school league. Drinks Friday? Want to hear the full divorce story? The story. It's already becoming a legend at school. The mild-mannered history teacher who took his pharmaceutical exec wife to court and won. But that's not really the story. The real story is simpler. I learned the difference between kindness and weakness, between being accommodating and being a doormat, between being underestimated and being defeated. Rachel thought my job meant I was unsuccessful, that my salary meant I was inferior, that my kindness meant I was weak. She learned the hard way that the measure of a person isn't their paycheck. It's their character, their principles, their willingness to stand up when it matters. And she learned that when you underestimate someone because they choose education over money, because they value relationships over status, because they're generous instead of greedy, when you make that mistake, you don't just lose, you lose spectacularly. My phone buzzes one more time. Katherine. P.S. Patricia Thornton called me today asking if I was taking new clients. I laughed for 5 minutes. I laughed too, sitting on my porch, in my house, in my new life. Rachel got her divorce, got her freedom, got Marcus, who left his wife for her. That lasted exactly 4 months before he moved on to someone else. But she lost the house, lost the hidden money, lost her reputation, lost the smug superiority she'd wrapped herself in. And me, I got my dignity back, got a relationship with my sister that's stronger than ever, got a house that's mine, got a future that's open. Most importantly, I learned something valuable. When someone tells you that you can't afford to fight them, they're usually the ones who can't afford to lose. The sun sets over my new neighborhood, families walking dogs, kids riding bikes, the ordinary beautiful chaos of regular life. I taught American history for 20 years. I know that the biggest battles aren't always won by the richest armies. They're won by the ones who refuse to surrender. Rachel thought she could take everything because I was a teacher who made $68,000 a year. She forgot that I was also a brother to one of the best lawyers in the state. That was her second mistake. Her first was underestimating me in the first place. This story is a reminder that net worth and self-worth are not the same thing. That kindness isn't weakness. That choosing a meaningful career over a lucrative one doesn't make you less valuable. And that the people who love you, really love you, don't measure your worth in dollar signs. When someone tries to use money as a weapon against you, remember, money can buy lawyers, but it can't buy loyalty, integrity, or the kind of love that makes someone fight for you for free. Don't forget to like and subscribe if this story resonated with you. Share it with someone who's ever been told they're not enough because of their bank account. And remember, being underestimated is sometimes the greatest advantage you can have. Click the next video to continue the journey.